Harder to imagine a more perfect day for football here in Buffalo inside Ralph Wilson Stadium. Picture perfect conditions, 71 degrees, sunny skies, and a very light wind as we are just about ready for the kick. Buffalo has won the toss. They defer. So Kansas City will start with the football. There is John Potter, the kickoff specialist drafted by Buffalo. He will get us going here at Ralph Wilson Stadium. They've got the white hankies out. And Steve, this fan base that so desperately wants this thing turned around will try to lift the Bills here at the start as Javier Arenas stands back deep in his own end zone.
They love the Buffalo Bills. They love the NFL here. They wait all year for this home opener. It's here. They're excited. We'll see if the team can come through.
John Potter from his own 35-yard line, and he will boot it through the uprights. And Kansas City will have it at their own 20. Matt Castle takes the field, and last week really represented the best and worst of Castle. That nearly perfect first half and 3 second-half turnovers, including that one fumble lost in the 40-24 defeat at the hands of the Atlanta Falcons. We'll see how he bounces back here this afternoon as the Chiefs will take it from their own 20. Jamal Charles, the lone setback. They go near side to the sideline. That's Peyton Hillis in a bit of a different look than we saw last week. And Kansas City with the first down on its first play.
Yeah, Buffalo was not ready for this. A surprise by Brian Daboll, the offensive coordinator for Kansas City. Nobody outside covering Peyton Hillis. They didn't know how to respond to that formation change.
Hillis picks up 15 yards. They spot it at the Chiefs' 35. It'll be 1st and 10. Castle over the middle. It's caught just shy of the 40-yard line. That's Dwayne Bowe, Kansas City's star wide receiver. We'll take a look at the starters for the Chiefs. Rodney Hudson, their second-year center, first year as the starter in the middle of that offensive front. Backs and receivers. You mentioned Jamal Charles last weekend, his first regular season game since that devastating ACL tear in week 2 of last season. Bowe picks up 4. It'll make it 2nd and 6. This is Charles, has the first down. And a good start to this Kansas City offensive drive. George Wilson, the strong safety, on the stop after a pickup of 9. Marcel Darius playing with a heavy heart today. We talked about the tragedy that he and his family dealing with this week. He'll return home after this game tomorrow. Linebacking core features Nick Barnett, the former Green Bay Packer. 8 tackles last week in the loss at the Jets. And the back end of the Buffalo defense featuring the rookie Stephon Gilmore, as he was picked on early and often last Sunday by Mark Sanchez. He tries to bounce back here today as Kansas City has it 1st and 10 from its own 47. Charles chopped down in the backfield. Nowhere to go as Mark Anderson dumps him for a loss of 3.
Great play by Mark Anderson off the right side of the defense for Buffalo. High-priced free agent coming over from New England. Had 10 sacks last year in New England. But watch him coming off the right side. Just knifes right in there. Very athletic. Got in there and got enough of Jamal Charles to bring him down for the big play. A loss of 3 yards.
Anderson, a big part of that Patriots defense that nearly won the Super Bowl. Signed a 4-year contract to join this Bills revamped defense. Castle on 2nd and 13, too high. Dwayne Bowe losing his footing on the play, and Kansas City will be faced with a 3rd and long as Gilmore was the man on the coverage.
That was a dangerous pass by Matt Castle. He should have seen. Watch right here. You're going to see Bowe come up, and as he comes out, he falls. Matt Castle still throws his ball. You can see on the outside, Stephon Gilmore had outside leverage. That ball was lucky to not be picked off. I don't think Matt Castle should have been throwing the ball that way.
Castle from the shotgun on 3rd and 13. This is Charles on the catch. They need to get to the Buffalo 43. He's way short as the rookie Gilmore shoves him out of bounds. It'll be 4th down.
Well, a pretty good series for Buffalo. Aside from that first play where they came out, I think the formation got them out of control. Dave Wanstead's defense, not used to seeing Peyton Hillis spread out wide, but other than that, a real solid, aggressive defensive series. And it looks like right now Kansas City's huddling up. They're actually going to go for it on 4th and 2.
Or perhaps they'll try to draw this Bills defense offside. Officially, it's a 4th and 3 from the 46.
Yeah, they're trying to draw him offside.
Play clock expires as Kansas City will take the penalty.
Delay of game, offense, number 7, 5-yard penalty, 4th down.
Now, I'll tell you, every once in a while you might find a situation where that works. Not very often in the NFL, especially last week, knowing that Kansas City tried to do that against Atlanta one time. Buffalo saw it on film, a little different formation, a little different wrinkle, but you're always aware of it once you've seen it on film.
A penalty that a team will willingly take. 5 yards not making much of a difference. In fact, you probably give your punter here, Dustin Colquitt, some more cushion to try to pin him back inside the 20. The Otis McKelvin back deep, stands at his own 15, signals fair catch, and Buffalo will take it 1st and 10 from their own 16-yard line. Ryan Fitzpatrick and the Bills offense onto the field after a 35-yard punt from Colquitt. Chiefs offensive drive stalls, so Ryan Fitzpatrick and company onto the field for the first time. Fitzpatrick and this Bills offense in a tailspin that dates back to last season. Just 1-9 is Fitzpatrick in his last 10 starts. You see his 3 picks and that big loss at the Jets last Sunday. This is C.J. Spiller. Once again having to come on for the injured Fred Jackson. It happened last season in November. Jackson going down with that broken leg. As we take a look at the starters for Buffalo, Cordy Glenn, the rookie tackle, lining up on one side. The first Bills rookie left tackle to start on opening day since 1990 last weekend. Mentioned C.J. Spiller, second 100-yard rush game of his career, had a $169 in that 20-point loss to the Jets a week ago today. Spiller picks up 1 on first. It's 2nd and 9. Spiller, one of the few bright spots in that game last week, is close to the 25-yard line. Javier Arenas on the stop. Starters defensively for Kansas City, Dontari Poe, the 11th overall pick in April's draft. He lines up right over center. Linebacking core features Tamba Hali, suspended 1 game for violating the NFL substance abuse policy. He returns, as does Brandon Flowers, who was out 6 weeks with a bruised heel. Finally was able to practice on Thursday and makes his season debut right here. 3rd and 1 from inside the 25. Fitzpatrick goes play action. He's got the tight end, but he short arms him by about 3 yards. It was Scott Chandler, and Fitzpatrick booed off the field.
This is really bad. Ryan Fitzpatrick, I don't know why he didn't get rid of this ball. Watch right here. Chandler coming up. No one's covering him, but he waits and allows Kansas City enough time to get out there. Look at, he's uncovered right now. Put it up over the top. He waited too long to throw that football and made it a more difficult throw. That is not a good play by Ryan Fitzpatrick right there.
Brian Moorman on to punt. Boy, that's the kind of play that can really mess with a guy's head, as he just flat out missed him. Chandler had wide open real estate up the sideline. This is Javier Arenas from his own 15. Cuts across the field. He's out past the 25, brought down at the 30 by Chris White. Backup linebacker for Buffalo. A 60-yard punt by Moorman, and Arenas brings it back 15 yards. Niagara Falls, about a 25-minute drive from where we are here in Orchard Park, New York, as Kansas City takes over 1st and 10 from their own 30-yard line. As we welcome you back, Peyton Hillis on the take. Spiro Dedes, Steve Berline with you. As Hillis picks up 4. Already we've seen Hillis, Steve, in a couple of different variational formations.
You know, Romeo Crennel, Brian Dable, they know Peyton Hillis from Cleveland, from the time in Cleveland, so have a lot of confidence. They're going to try and work him in there.
This is 2nd and 6. Charles gets his feet tangled up in the backfield. It was John Asamoah, the third-year man from Illinois, just couldn't quite get out of his way. And they lose 5.
Yeah, you're going to see John Asamoah, the right guard, number 73. He gets pushed back in the backfield. Good penetration by Kyle Williams, who, by the way, is one of the most powerful defensive tackle interior linemen in the NFL. Got great penetration. Asamoah driven all the way back into Jamal Charles.
Williams missed the final 11 games a season ago with that foot injury. Forces Kansas City into a 3rd and 11. Castle from the shotgun finds Charles on the little screen pass. Need to get to the 40, and he's not even close. Leotis McKelvin, the now backup cornerback, playing behind Gilmore, forced him out of bounds.
And that's one of the big differences that we've seen today already, Spiro, than last week. I talked to Dave Wanstead, the defensive coordinator for Buffalo, and he said they just didn't have any chances last week with the way that game went that to get into their pass rushing packages. Why Mario Williams and Mark Anderson can never turn it loose. They never had 3rd and long situations and couldn't get that done.
Dave Wanstead taking over the defensive coordinator post for the fired George Edwards as Buffalo fields here. Leotis McKelvin, the man who just made the tackle a moment ago, dancing around, unable to find some real estate. After a 46-yard punt, there is a marker on the field. Brandon Seiler on the tackle. Clock stopped at 7:53.
Holding on the kicking team, number 85. 10-yard penalty will be assessed in the succeeding spot.
That's Jake O'Connell, the man called for the penalty, so Ryan Fitzpatrick will get a do-over. Buffalo on the field when we come back. Kansas City and Buffalo still scoreless. 7:53 to play. Gives us a chance to take a look at our hash marks and hashtags, trending topics around the NFL, and what a return for Peyton Manning, AP, all of these guys coming back from substantial injuries. DeMarco Murray, of course, that big day, the opening Wednesday night of the season against the Giants, a $131, and that huge road win for Dallas. And Jamal Charles in our game today, although he has endured a rough start, as Kansas City's offense now looking on. Ryan Fitzpatrick and company on the field. This is C.J. Spiller. Stevie's so dangerous. Once he gets past that first or second defender, it's lights out.
You know what Eric Berry told us yesterday, the safety for Kansas City Chiefs? He said that he's one of those guys that you actually have to expect him to be faster than you think he is. He's so fast that if you just play him as a normal fast guy, you'll end up being a little bit short getting there as well. You've got to give him more respect than you actually think you do.
Spiller, the 9th overall pick back in the 2010 NFL draft. They go Wildcat here, changing it up near side. And that's Spiller on another different look. They force him out of bounds past the 30, picks up 6, and a Buffalo first down.
And that's Brad Smith in the Wildcat quarterback position there. Remember, he played quarterback back at the University of Missouri. Very comfortable back there. He also is a threat to throw the football, much more so than a normal Wildcat guy. Other than Tim Tebow, obviously, with the New York Jets, I think Brad Smith is the most qualified guy in the Wildcat formation to throw the football.
Smith dealing with a groin strain, was barely able to play last week against the Jets. But already making an impact on this game is Fitzpatrick under center here on 1st and 10. They go back to Spiller, and he loses yardage. Dumped down at about the 27. Justin Houston, the second-year linebacker, got there first, and Spiller slow to get to his feet.
Yeah, Justin Houston, great play. The second year, watch him right here coming off the edge, just shooting inside, and great penetration, getting inside the block, and then coming back and making the play. Justin Houston, second year at a University of Georgia, was a 3rd-round draft choice last year, been making plays for a while for this defense.
Boy, and seeing C.J. Spiller limp has to send a shudder down the spine of these Bills fans here. Tashard Choice, their only experienced backup running back on the roster. Spiller, however, looks good on his play. first down and much more out to the 46-yard line. Abram Elam drags him down after a pickup of 20.
It's a great read by Ryan Fitzpatrick. Justin Houston, number 50, coming off the edge. He's hot. He's unblocked, but Ryan Fitzpatrick was on top of it. The key on that play is for your receiver to read it too. And C.J. Spiller, he saw it quick, got his eyes around, and gave Ryan Fitzpatrick a spot to put that football, and you got a big play.
Spiller, the workhorse, at least for the next couple of weeks with the injury to Fred Jackson. And now Tashard Choice, who we just mentioned, the backup running back. Played under Chan Gailey at Georgia Tech, gets his first take on an excellent run inside Kansas City territory. Derek Johnson a tackle, but Choice burns him for 8.
Well, I think this is a statement drive by the Buffalo Bills here. They're getting physical. They're taking the football straight at him. You've seen a couple of good runs from C.J. Spiller. Good execution across the board. Nice move right there by Tashard Choice.
Well, the irony is the Choice was brought in by Buffalo last season as insurance when Jackson went down. And again, in a very similar position here as the backup to Spiller. This is Choice again on 2nd and 2. Appears to be just short of the first down marker. Tamba Hali on the tackle as we come up on 4 minutes to play here in the first. And the Bills get in a favorable spot as they move the chains. There's Chan Gailey. A lot of people feel like, Steve, this could be a make-or-break year for him here, year 3 at the helm of the Bills.
Well, when your record after 2 years is 10 and 23, that's not a good start. That's not a good sign. So I think Chan Gailey, he knows the reality of the situation. A lot of respect for that man, though, across the league. He's a very, very good football coach. We'll see if he can get a turnaround. Wildcat again here.
Brad Smith lines up from the shotgun. Spiller in motion. And this on a fake end-around play. Kansas City not fooled. All kinds of markers come flying in. Smith was dumped down for a loss.
Holding. Offense number 67. 10-yard penalty. Still first down.
Yeah, Andy Levitri, the left guard, was the victim of the hold here. You're going to see that, no doubt about it, got driven into the backfield, chasing his man, took a bad angle, and then, as any good offensive lineman would do, instead of giving up a hit on your running back, you know, do whatever you got to do to prevent that hit. Same thing if it's going to be a sack. You'd much rather have a guy hang on to him to prevent that big hit on a quarterback or a running back in the backfield.
So a 10-yard penalty makes it 1st and 20. Buffalo back inside their own territory from the 47. Patrick slings it sideline. It's caught. Brad Smith, it's a completed pass. And Buffalo able to pick up a chunk of that yardage back, and then some. He goes for 16.
I'll tell you what, that is a heck of a catch. If he maintains control of that football, yeah, it looks like the feet are perfect. Look at that left foot dragging in there. That's a, by the way, that's a guy we talked about before. He's a quarterback by trade. Shows what kind of athletic ability he has. Great throw and catch.
Well, Fitzpatrick talked about what a marvelous athlete Smith is. And he showed it on that play. There's Fitzpatrick trying to elude the sack. Able to get it out off the hands of Chandler Justin Houston. The pressure as we head to New York, and an NFL update.
Speaking of pressure, that's what Philly feels.
And off a Joe Flacco fumble, LaShawn McCoy, 1-yard touchdown run, 6 plays, 14 yards. Philly up early, 7-0.
And Ed Reed, a penalty against Vic. That set it up. Spiro and Steve.
JB, thanks. Early season showdown there between Baltimore and Philadelphia. This is 3rd and 4 here from the Kansas City 37. Fitzpatrick calls his own number. He's got the first down, and he's inside the 20. Brought down by Brandon Flowers after a pickup of 20.
I'll tell you what, that's the other thing that Ryan Fitzpatrick brings to the table. He sees it's too deep coverage with man underneath, and once he sees that, he knows nobody's assigned to the quarterback as far as man-to-man coverage. He's got the athletic ability to tuck it and run. Look at him. He just takes off and runs. Sees the big hole out there, and then he's not going to slide. He's going to fight for those extra yards, try and get his teammates and his crowd fired up.
Scott Chandler in motion, 1st and 10. Fitzpatrick fakes the handoff. It's incomplete. Brandon Flowers on the coverage. First time they've targeted Stevie Johnson today.
You know, one of the things that's been causing problems with Ryan Fitzpatrick, you're going to see this ball, if it's thrown in a good location, it could be a touchdown. If this ball hits Stevie Johnson in the numbers on the run, he's one-on-one with the safety. But Ryan Fitzpatrick last week was not very accurate. He had 3 interceptions. All three of them, I think, were either late or behind their receiver. So he's got to get that part of his game picked up. He's never been an overly accurate guy, but it's been more so magnified this year.
See the red zone offense last season. This is Spiller on a draw play. He's inside the 5. Touchdown!
Well, nothing spectacular here, just a draw play out of the spread. C.J. Spiller, you give a guy like that with that kind of speed, that much room, it's over.
Spiller goes 17 yards, and Buffalo jumps out to take the lead. Point after is good as the Bills cover 84 yards in 11 plays in just under 6 minutes. C.J. Spiller gives Buffalo a 7-0 lead.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the NFL. Here we go. And by Internet Explorer. Welcome to a more beautiful web.
A reminder, watch Fantasy Football today to get Game Time player news, inactive updates to help you set up your lineup and chat with our experts. Live every Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern on CBS Sports Network and online at cbssports.com/fantasy. The electrifying C.J. Spiller getting them jumping out of their seats here at Ralph Wilson Stadium. 17-yard draw play on the touchdown run as they go 11 plays, 84 yards to make it 7-0.
Really good drive by the Buffalo Bills right there. Had a couple of opportunities in the passing game they could have been a little more efficient on, but brilliant call by Chan Gailey for that touchdown on the draw play.
It was Kansas City that jumped out to that impressive opening drive. They stalled. Ryan Fitzpatrick had a kind of a meager opening drive, but boy, did they answer. And now Matt Castle and company will try to come back themselves. C.J. Spiller. And Buffalo out in front, 7-0. Home opener for the Buffalo Bills. They're out in front of the Chiefs, 7-0 here. Late stages, first quarter. Matt Castle to Peyton Hillis on 1st and 10. And Hillis going nowhere. Well, of course, no one knows the game like a quarterback. Phil Simms, Rich Gannon, Steve Berline. Our guy on NFL Monday Quarterback tomorrow, and its regularly scheduled slot, 6:30 Eastern on CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. I join host Adam Schein, who, of course, is never short on energy, but had a chance to check it out last week. That's a lot of fun, and a pretty good panel to break down every game each week during the NFL season. This is Castle finding Charles. Minimal gain on 2nd down as they pick up 4. That was Dexter McCluster, rather, on the reception.
And we're going to see a lot of Dexter McCluster. This guy is exciting to watch, and Matt Castle told us that he doesn't think there's anybody in the league that can cover this guy one-on-one. Fortunately for Buffalo right there, they were in a zone defense looking for that crossing route for Dexter McCluster, but the Chiefs are going to find ways to get him the football because when it gets in his hands, you never know what's going to happen with it.
McCluster last week against the Falcons, a team-high 6 catches for 82 yards, and that 16-point loss. Castle barely gets it off in time. It's incomplete. And it'll be 4th down. Castle thought that there should have been a penalty marker thrown on the defense.
What he wanted was holding on the Buffalo Bills defense, because what happened, his tight end was trying to come across underneath Scott Chandler. He's looking right there. He's saying, hey, they're holding him. And there's no doubt he was getting held up, but I think it was just a good, solid read by the Buffalo Bills defense.
And Steve, we're starting to see the pressure that the Bills were supposed to come with last weekend against the Jets. From that high-priced defensive front four, Mark Anderson was there on the rush, and Leotis McKelvin nearly whipped down from the back of his helmet on the play. Marker was thrown. It was Edgar Jones, the man who looks to be the culprit on this play. 50-yard punt and a return of 6. But Buffalo should get some good yardage here on the penalty. Kelvin's helmet was nearly yanked off on that play.
Yeah, that is exactly what the commissioner in the NFL are trying to crack down on. Player safety issues. That right there is a poster shot of what they do not want to see.
Not sure what the delay is here. Perhaps just trying to get the number correct.
On the play. Personal foul. Face mask. Against the kicking team. Same time, we had an illegal block in the back on the return team. It's at the end of the run, the foul's offset, 1st down.
So that's what the delay was about. Penalties will offset. And there's the block in the back.
Well, They may not have called a penalty, but he may be getting a call from the commissioner's office this week. That was pretty violent.
That was Corey McIntyre, Steve, their fullback. The man called on the block. So after all that, 1st and 10. Fitzpatrick again goes draw play to Spiller. Now past the 35 to the 36. Tackle made by Tyson Jackson after a pickup of 3. So C.J. Spiller again, Steve, in the position he was in last November. Fred Jackson going down with that broken leg. Averaged about 73 yards over the final 6 games of that season, and here he is again with a good start. Buffalo out in front, 7-0. End of 1 here in Western New York. We'll have the 2nd quarter
After the
next.
1st quarter.
Elvis is in the building here at Ralph Wilson Stadium. He's a Bills fan today. And these fans hoping that the fortunes of this franchise will start to turn. It's been such a long road back. But Buddy Nix, the general manager and the front office here, building a team that they feel like will compete in the AFC East. Trying to score their first win today. They lead Kansas City 7-0 as we start the 2nd. This is Fitzpatrick flushed out on 2nd and 6. Again calls his own number at a 20-yard run earlier. And that time jogs out of bounds, forced out by Berry, but not before Buffalo picks up a 1st down.
I think Ryan Fitzpatrick right there had a chance to throw the wide. Watch right here on the left side. They're going to pop back. Donald Jones is going to pop back for this. He's wide open, but Ryan Fitzpatrick saw something that he didn't like, and fortunately for him and for the Buffalo Bills, he's a good enough athlete to make something positive out of what could have been a negative.
They go Wildcat again. This is the 3rd time we've seen the Wildcat today. Brad Smith lining up in a shotgun. They fake the end around. Smith keeps it himself. Tripped up. Barely able to turn the corner. Justin Houston on the stop. As Smith picks up 5. We've seen the Wildcat now 3 different times, Steve, already in this 1st half.
And I wouldn't be surprised if at some point we do see Brad Smith throwing the football out of there, because they've shown right now 3 plays where it's been run all the way. You get that defense going to sleep playing only the run, and all of a sudden Brad Smith pops up and throws the ball down the field. You better be awake.
Now, you expected this. We watched their practice on Friday, and they were going to the Wildcat extensively, working through that formation in preparation for this game.
Come on.
There's Buffalo here on 2nd and 5. Spiller backing again. Spiller with plenty of real estate inside the 25. He's finally brought down inside the 15-yard line by Abram Elam as Spiller charges out 37 yards.
You know what I love about this guy? You can just see his confidence growing every time he touches the ball. I think that his first couple years in the league, until he proved it to himself late last year, he didn't really know that he could do it. And he didn't feel like people believed he could do it. Now, he's running every time he touches the football. He's ripping through tackles. He's looking for that opportunity to get up the field. And he's not running away from people. He's running through people when he has to.
Spiller approaching 100 yards from scrimmage already, with just 2 minutes gone by in the second. Fitzpatrick pump fakes inside the 10 and tripped up out of bounds at the 5-yard line by Arenas.
I love the spirit and the energy that Ryan Fitzpatrick exudes all the time. He's fearless out there. He's a gunslinger. He's going to take chances. But on a play like that, he's got to be careful. He's got to realize his team needs him out there for 4 quarters today in 16 games this year for them to have a chance. He took an unnecessary shot right there in his knee, in my opinion.
And Matt Castle helplessly looking on as a 2nd and 3. Buffalo needing to get to the 2 for the first down. Tashard Choice comes in to spell Spiller. Fitzpatrick goes end zone. It was nearly picked. Again, trying to force it into Stevie Johnson. Brandon Flowers was right there.
This is really a bad route by Stevie Johnson. I mean, the only way you're going to complete a back shoulder throw in the NFL is if that defensive back believes you're trying to run past him. Stevie Johnson right there took 2 steps to look for the football. He almost hung out Ryan Fitzpatrick on that play. That's not number 14's fault at all. That's Stevie Johnson's fault.
Steve, I know they had a late touchdown last week in that game at the Jets, but there's been a bit of a disconnect between those 2 players, as this Buffalo offense tries to jumpstart itself up 7-0 here on 3rd and 3 from the Chiefs' 5. This is Spiller trying to turn the corner, lunges end zone, and Buffalo builds on its lead.
I'll tell you what, I love the running game that Chan Gailey has designed for this ball game in the red zone especially. They go to the gun, they give the quick toss right there to C.J. Spiller. The big block on it was the initial block on the end of the line of scrimmage by Scott Chandler, cracking down on the defensive end. That gets C.J. Spiller to the edge, and it's all over when that happens.
Spiller with 85 yards on the ground on 9 carries. As the extra point is perfect and Buffalo pushing its lead to 14-0. It has been the C.J. Spiller show so far here in Buffalo. Kansas City taking one on the chin so far. Well, Steve had C.J. Spiller starting on his fantasy team today, and so far that has been an awfully good prediction. Spiller with the first 2-touchdown game of his 3-year career.
I wish I had him start him. I had him. I was recommending
him.
Well,
you made the recommendation. It's the same thing.
I didn't have him on mine, unfortunately. I wish I did. There's nobody better right now, I'm sure.
Spiller has gone for 85 yards on 9 carries, an average of better than 9 yards per rush.
And his average last week, we talked about it in the open, it was over 12 yards a carry, 14 carries, 169 yards. He's showing that that's not a fluke, and he is the kind of running back that you may stop him 2-3 yards, and he's starting to realize those are good runs, but he's strong enough now to rip through those tackles and make the big play as well.
Well, the Bills certainly missing Fred Jackson, but Spiller has eased the pain at least up till this point. Touchback will give Castle and company the football at their own 20. And what a day it's been so far. We're barely into the second quarter for C.J. Spiller.
And just look at the confidence he's got there now. The speed, everybody always knew he had the speed, but now they're getting the ball through the air, trying to get him the football in space. And what Kansas City's doing, which I think is a mistake right now, they're coming up, they're lining up playing bump man-to-man coverage on the outside. Safety's up in the box. If Ryan Fitzpatrick has the right run play called, it's a big play waiting to happen.
Peyton Hillis, the lone setback. Eludes 1 tackler. Picks up 3, maybe 4 with that extra little lunge. And now Kansas City, last week had to play from behind in the second half, Steve. They looked so impressive over the first 2 quarters against Atlanta. As you see Romeo Crennel trying to rally the troops there on that sideline. Also, of course, calling the defensive plays for the Chiefs.
Well, he knows that they got to get their act together here now. This game is on the verge of slipping away. On the road, going down 14 points in the first half. He knows it's an uphill battle from here. Very important drive for the Kansas City offense right here.
Castle goes play action on 2nd and 6. Completes to Bo. Huge first down. Jairus Byrd on the tackle as Bo picks up 19 through the air.
Great job by the whole Kansas City Chiefs team. They had motion penalty possibility. You had both Dwayne Bowe and Tony Moeaki in motion at the same time, and Matt Castle set him, gave him a chance to get the snap off. Good play action, got the linebackers to bite. Dwayne Bowe split the linebackers over the top, and a nice ball by Matt Castle. Big pickup. Maybe this will be the jump start the Kansas City Chiefs offense needed.
You see Bowe's numbers last season. That was with 3 different quarterbacks. All the injuries that Kansas City had to endure offensively. This is Jamal Charles on first down. Can't turn the corner. Picks up 1, maybe 2. Mark Anderson on the tackle. Reminder to stay tuned to CBS. The Verizon Halftime Report. Join JB, Dan, Shannon Boomer, and Coach Cowher for all the latest scores and highlights. Week 2 of the NFL season. We've got you covered on the Verizon Halftime Report. Clock continues to run. 10:35 to play. First half. Now look at the running back comparison so far. C.J. Spiller nearly 90 yards on the ground. He's over 100 in yards from scrimmage as Castle slings it sideline, not even close. Trying to go to McCluster. And Kansas City will be faced with a 3rd and 9.
In talking to Dexter McCluster yesterday, he is so happy to be involved in the game plan as intimately as he is. But he told us, he said he still looks at himself as a running back. And I think it shows up in situations like that last play. He was one-on-one against a high first-round draft choice, Stephon Gilmore, a cornerback, and he wasn't quite sure how to run that route and how to win one-on-one on the outside against a good cover guy. That's not the kind of route that Dexter McCluster should be running.
Sean Drone is the lone setback, made his NFL debut with the Chiefs last weekend as Castle is set. Marcell Dareus got there first for Buffalo. And what a story this is for the Bills. Marcell Dareus getting all the love from his teammates. His brother shot and killed in Birmingham last Sunday, and Steve miraculously has found the strength to play in this game and comes up with a huge defensive play.
A really nice TT tackle stunt there, and Dareus, the first-round draft choice last year, more than good enough athlete to get there.
McKelvin watches it take a bounce out of bounds out past the 20 as Ryan Fitzpatrick and company with a chance to build on his 14-point lead. Next.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by State Farm. For auto, home, life, and banking, get to a better state. 1-in-1 My Website, where creating a business website is easy. And by McDonald's. I'm loving it.
.2012 home opener for the Buffalo Bills, and these fans having a party. Buffalo out in front, 14-0, 9:42 to play before halftime. Spiro Beatus, Steve Berline, our entire CBS crew from Ralph Wilson Stadium here in Orchard Park, New York. Bills trying to bounce back after getting crushed by the Jets last Sunday. And the story so far has been that man, C.J. Spiller. 2 touchdowns, and that's where we stand. It's just the start of a busy week 2 around the NFL. Coming up next on CBS, Mark Sanchez, Tim Tebow, and the Jets travel to Pittsburgh to take on Big Ben and the Steelers, or the Titans and the Chargers. Check your local listings as the CBS doubleheader continues around the country. C.J. Spiller this time will split out to the slot. Top of your picture. Stevie Johnson in motion. This is Fitzpatrick on 2nd and 9. Incomplete. So as good as they've looked, Steve, with the ground game, Fitzpatrick still struggling. Try to get that aerial attack off and running.
Yeah, they're going a lot of empty, and they did right there. You're going to see right here, C.J. Spiller. Watch him come underneath and across it. He's got one-on-one. It would have been a much easier completion, I think, for Ryan Fitzpatrick. Put it right there on your man that's making the plays today. Let him run and try and make a play.
Fitzpatrick so far, as you can see, his numbers 3 of 8 is 36 yards. And now facing the third long from just inside the 25. Won't get near to that first down marker. That was Donald Jones. Man expected to carry even more of the burden offensively with the absence of David Nelson. Abram Elam was there on the coverage.
Yeah, great read by Abram Elam. And I'll tell you, you know what? I talked about the short completion to C.J. Spiller. If they would have taken that, you stand to that third and long situation, it would have been maybe 3rd and 2, hypothetically speaking here. That's a much better situation. They would have been in control with the play call right there. Kansas City was all over it.
Brian Moorman on the punt. Fair catch signaled by Javier Arenas at the Chiefs' 25-yard line. A 51-yard punt by Moorman. Buffalo out in front, 14-0. Two desperate teams trying to answer after getting blown out on opening day. And so far, all Buffalo here at home. Get anything going offensively, down 14-0 here. We'll see what they've done so far, their first 4 possessions. Well, they started out well, Steve, their first drive, then they kind of stalled at midfield, and since then, nothing doing.
No, not too impressive.
Peyton Hillis again gets another look. Peyton Hillis, tough run, taking on that Bills defense. Terrence McGee took the brunt of that play as Hillis goes for 6.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, this guy, this is what he brings to the table. Terrence McGee found out right there. You know, you got to do more than just put your head down and hope against Peyton Hillis. You got to wrap up and take him to the ground. That's a big man coming with a lot of steam.
Hillis, acquired from Cleveland, the controversy that he endured with the Browns behind him was the perfect complement to Jamal Charles in this offense. This is 2nd and 4. Pocket collapses. Castle underthrowing his man. It's incomplete. Trying to find the tight end, Tony Moyaki. Darius on the pressure as we go to New York and an update.
Spiro, I know Steve appreciates his Dan Marino-like toss.
Oh, thanks, JB. Off Eli Manning, interception, perfect throw. Josh Freeman and Vincent Jackson, 29-yard touchdown. Tampa up 10-6.
Vincent Jackson, 3 catches, 87 yards, and a touchdown. Back to Spiro and Steve.
You're right, I love it, JB.
Some good games around the NFL here in week 2. We've got a good one here. 3rd and 4. Castle from the gun. It's caught. And Bo moves the chains for a Chiefs first down.
That's big for Kansas City right there. Just to get some confidence, get a first down, get a little drive going. One thing I'm surprised, right there you see Dwayne Bowe on Terrence McGee. I was under the impression, we haven't seen much of it yet, that we would see Bowe quite a bit going against the rookie on the other side, Stephon Gilmore, the first-round draft choice who got beaten for a big touchdown last week and a couple other plays. There's the matchup right now at the very top of the screen.
And as you saw there, Bowe, 8th player in Chiefs history to go over 5,000 yards. Castle sacked and fumbles, and it appears that Buffalo has recovered. Mario Williams falling on the football. It was Eric Carrington on the sack and forced fumble.
Well, I'm not sure exactly how the ball came out. One thing I do know, Carrington right there gets it. Matt Castle's got to protect that football better. That's his fault, that ball coming out of there. He saw Carrington coming. He's got to protect that football. Just popped it out with his left hand. The fumble last week was not Matt Castle's fault. The sack fumble from John Abraham. But this one was totally Matt Castle's fault. The pressure was there. He saw it, felt it. He's got to hang on to that football.
So Ryan Fitzpatrick and company back on the field at 14-0. As we move on to 7 minutes to play here in the first half. Spiller. Linebacker Derek Johnson on the tackle. One of the few times that Spiller's been bottled up by this Chiefs defense. And right now, if you're Romeo Crennel, Steve, you just want to get off the field, keeping this thing within 2 touchdowns or less.
Exactly right. Yeah, we talked to Romeo Crennel. What was a problem last week? He said, well, Julio Jones was a problem, number one, but look at you see the plays in opponent territory, Buffalo 9, but first 8 drives for Atlanta last week were points against this defense.
This is Spiller on 2nd and 9. About 3 yards short of the first down marker. Opati Patoa on the tackle, the 4th-year man from Washington State. One of the backup defensive linemen. As Kansas City, one of the few teams in the NFL that still plays that traditional 3-4 defense. Well, a defense that's been on its heels for the most part in this first half. Finally, Fitzpatrick able to connect with Stevie Johnson, and they've got a Buffalo first down, a pickup of 8.
And that, Spiro, was a great throw by Ryan Fitzpatrick. Very tight coverage by Stanford, route on the outside. Just a slant route by Stevie Johnson. He gave Ryan Fitzpatrick his numbers, and this time Fitzpatrick delivered. Hit him right between the 1 and the 3. That's a big conversion for Buffalo.
Johnson just 4 receptions at the Jets last weekend, including the touchdown late. That's his first reception today. Makes it 1st and 10 from the Chiefs' 29. A little screen near side to Spiller. Spiller inside the 15 to the 10. And finally forced out of bounds inside the 5. It'll be 1st and goal. 27 yards, Fitzpatrick to Spiller.
This was a great call by Channing. Watch right, here's Spiller. They're going to come with a blitz off the side. It's a perfect play call for the situation. Kansas City was committed to the blitz. Nobody outside to cover C.J. Spiller. Easy throw and catch. Almost a touchdown for the Buffalo Bills.
See what Spiller has done. 47 yards receiving so far. Doran Dickerson into the game, the man in motion. And this is Dickerson to end around. Kansas City not faked out in the least bit. As he'll lose a chunk of yardage rather. Abram Elam, who's played a good first half, dumps him for a loss of 5.
Spiro, as much as I like the previous play call and the play call inside the red zone to this point, this one's terrible. I didn't like the play call. I don't like the way Eric Berry's hanging on top of Dickerson's head either. But Chan Gailey right there, I think he wishes he had that one back. He got 1st and goal at the 2-yard line, pounded up in there. Don't try and run a reverse down there. You just lost 8 yards.
So officially a 2nd and goal. They spot it from the 10. Fitzpatrick end zone, Chandler wide open, and it's 20-0. Players have to be separated away from the football as frustrations already boiling over for the Chiefs.
Tamba Hali and Eric Pears really getting into it. Something happened after that play. Not sure what it was. It was great throw and catch by Ryan Fitzpatrick, Scott Chandler. Not very good coverage. Abram Elam cannot give that inside up to Scott Chandler. Easy touchdown inside the red zone there.
Fitzpatrick talked about Chandler and the trust that they've built. And he needs Chandler in the worst way now after the injury to David Nelson. Going down last weekend at the Jets. But a 10-yard touchdown hookup between Fitzpatrick and his tight end, Scott Chandler. Giving Buffalo a 3-touchdown lead. Point after is perfect, and it's 21-0. Matt Castle struggles from opening day, carrying over into week 2. And the opportunistic Bills pushing their lead at 21-0.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Miller Lite. It's not just a good time, it's Miller time. And by New York Life Insurance Company.
$21-0 Buffalo, 3 and change left to play in the second quarter as they take advantage of the Matt Castle fumble. They cover 43 yards, the short field, 6 plays in 3.5 minutes. As Scott Chandler with the 10-yard touchdown reception, and Kansas City, Steve, in a huge hole, down 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, this is not the situation Romeo Crennel wanted to find himself in, obviously. But we're going to see what this team is made up of now. They've got to stick together and find a way to get something positive out of this drive and get some points on the board to go into halftime feeling good about at least that.
Well, the last 6 quarters for the Chiefs have been a nightmare, to say the least. This is Javier Arenas from the kick off the leg of John Potter. Arenas stretching out past the 20. Ruvell Martin on the tackle.
You're going to see what happened on the play when everybody got so upset. Tamba Hali comes in low, and watch Cordy Glenn right here. The left tackle jumps on top of him. Well, now Kerry Wood, number 70, sees Tamba Hali getting mad, and he jumps on top of Tamba Hali. It's that snowball effect. It was really the rookie draft choice for the Buffalo Bills, the left tackle Cordy Glenn, that started it. Tamba Hali was retaliating. Eric Wood jumps on top. Now you got to fight.
Kansas City with all 3 timeouts, 1st and 10 from their own 22. Absolutely need to do something on this drive. A little pre-snap movement. Chris Kelsey signaling towards the offense.
False start. Offense number 74. 5-yard penalty. First down.
That's Eric Winston, the 7th-year veteran among the Chiefs' big free agent signings. Spent his first 6 years with Houston.
Spear, this is where Matt Castle needs to step up, though, and insert himself as a leader. His teammates not showing a lot of points. They got to get it back.
Peyton Hillis on 1st and long. Out past the original line of scrimmage, gets to the 25-yard line. Tackle made by Kelvin Shepard and Nick Barnett.
I like the play call by Brian Daboll. You got 2nd and long, and you know that the Buffalo Bills are playing pass in that situation. Run your big horse, Peyton Hillis, up inside. Try and pick up half of it and get yourself in at least a manageable 2nd down situation.
Brian Daboll looking on, the Chiefs offensive coordinator. Dwayne Bowe in motion. 2nd and 7. Castle, sideline. Bowe makes the catch. Out past the 1st down marker, out of bounds at the 34. As he picks up 9 and a Chiefs first down.
That's good feet by Dwayne Bowe on the sideline right there, just catching that ball, knowing exactly where he is. A good ball by Matt Castle as well. I'm not 100% sure that he's in on that one, but Chan Gailey, a lot of people are saying to review it, and the fans here want the review.
Chiefs quickly get up to the line of scrimmage. No review, penalty marker thrown. That's the tight end, Kevin Boss. Marker thrown back behind the line of scrimmage. Boss picks up 20.
And Jarris Byrd is hurt. He's got his bell rung there.
Offense number 40. 15-yard penalty. First down.
That's Peyton Hillis.
This is the danger, though, being a free safety coming in. This is what the NFL... Here's the penalty. If we look at the chop blocks, what happened. Right there, you got your left guard, Ryan Lilja, engaged, and then the running back comes up and chops him. Right there, though, that's Jabril Wilson. George Wilson, excuse me. Got my G right, but George Wilson goes in there and hits him low with his head, and that's what the NFL is trying to crack down on. They want the safeties to start hitting with their shoulders as opposed to their head because of potential for a head injury.
So the penalty on Hillis makes it 1st and 25. Kansas City going the wrong way. Charles out of the backfield. Dragged down by Shepard. As Charles picks up 7, and that brings us to the 2-minute warning here in Buffalo. Kansas City down 21-0 on CBS. Oh, it's been a long time since the Chiefs have put up a goose egg in the first half. September 25th of 2011. Game in San Diego. Right now down 21-0, 2 minutes to play, first half. A very costly penalty on Peyton Hillis, a 15-yarder, that negated a 20-yard pass play. And now Kansas City on 2nd and 18 from their own 26. Castle going middle, hooks up with Kevin Boss again. And Boss lying on his back has the first down, and boy, he's hurt. You see the Buffalo defenders waving over for the Chiefs trainers to come in.
I'm not sure what happened. It didn't look like Boss got hit. Maybe he hit his head on the ground. That might be what the concern is.
Boss picks up 29 yards.
Beautiful throw and catch, and let's just see if his head snaps into the ground. Oh, actually, yeah, you can see that hit from...
That's Denoris Searcy.
Denoris Searcy came in. Yeah, that's...
You could see his eyes close, Steve, as he kind of turned over on his back.
Right.
And that's what the Bills defenders saw and immediately waved over to the Chiefs trainers.
Right, and you can see his legs moving there, which is a really good sign. And he had his arm up on his face mask too, so at least we know he's moving.
Kevin Boss, the 6-year veteran, acquired during the offseason. Spent the first 4 years of his career with the Giants, a member of that 2007 Super Bowl championship team. And that was that kind of lean-in hit at the end of that play. Nothing that looked overly dangerous on a replay as they continue to look at Boss right close to midfield. We'll step aside. Well, the very good news, Kevin Boss able to walk off the field on his own power. And continue to look at him on the Chiefs sideline, so he will leave the game.
On the previous play,
there was a late marker
there will be
thrown.
no charge timeout. There was a foul on the play. It was a personal foul. Blow to the head by the defensive back. That will be a 15-yard penalty. Automatic first down.
That is Denoris Searcy, the man who was actually penalized on the play.
You know, this is tough. I don't know if I agree with this call. I mean, I know the referees are trying to err on the side of safety, but you know, he's going in with his shoulder. It's a big man catching the football. He's behind. He's just going in to try and make the hit right as the guy's hitting the ground. I don't know if you penalize Denoris Searcy for that one.
So 1st and 10 after the penalty. They spot it at the Buffalo 30. Castle throwing sideline off the hands of the intended receiver, Steve Breaston. Penalty marker thrown.
They're going to get Gilmore for holding, I think, on the outside, holding Breaston.
Well, Matt Castle said they wanted to target the rookie in this game.
Holding, defense number 27. 5-yard penalty, first down.
Not a bad penalty by Stephon Gilmore. You're going to see right as Breaston tries to break out of this. You got right there. Just that little grab that kept Breaston from getting back and adjusting that football. Matt Castle makes a nice back shoulder throw. Breaston would make that catch were it not for Stephon Gilmore. I think Gilmore, good penalty, only 5 yards.
Gilmore taken with the 10th overall pick in the NFL draft. Sean Drone, the backup running back, lines up on the backfield. Castle from the gun. This is Drone. Cuts back inside the 15, brought down at the 22-yard line. We're told that George Wilson has been taken into the Buffalo locker room. They're looking at the head. In a concussion situation, his return is questionable.
You know what I want to know? I want to know where Jamal Charles is. I saw him earlier in this drive standing behind Romeo Crennel, but we haven't seen him on the field in a very long time, and I'm wondering there might be something going on with him.
Castle again on 2nd and 7. He goes end zone, incomplete. Trying to hook up with Dwayne Bowe with 1:01 left in the second. It'll be 3rd and 7. How huge would this be for Kansas City to put some points on the board here? Keep in mind, Buffalo will have the football to start the second half. That is huge.
There's Jamal Charles. He's sitting there looking like he's ready to go, but I'd like to hear why he hasn't been out there.
Instead, Brian Dable sends out Peyton Hillis. Castle again from a shotgun, tucks it away, has the first down and more inside the 5, lunges to the end zone, and he's just short of the goal line. Huge pickup by Castle. He runs for 21 yards.
That is a great play. That's the kind of play, Spiro, that energizes a team. When you see your quarterback, who's not a runner, by the way, tuck it and run and say, you know what, I'm not going to slide. I'm going to get this thing in the end zone.
Timeout.
He protected the football.
Kansas City, first charge timeout of the half. This will be a 30-second timeout.
So Kansas City takes its first of 3 timeouts. 49 seconds left before the break. Coming up, the Verizon Halftime Report. JB Dance, Shannon Boomer, and Coach Cowher in New York. They'll have all the latest scores and highlights. Week 2 around the NFL. The Verizon Halftime Report comes your way next, right here on CBS. It's been all Buffalo so far, up 21-0. C.J. Spiller doing damage with his legs and through the airways. But now Matt Castle and company desperately trying to punch one in here with under a minute to play.
It truly is vital that the Kansas City Chiefs get this ball into the end zone. There you see Jamal Charles again. There's got to be some kind of an injury thing with him, because I've seen him just walking the sidelines, not even in really a position to get himself on the football field. But fortunately, they've got just the man for this type of situation. He's wearing number 40 out there, Peyton Hillis.
We've been told nothing from the Chiefs sideline about any potential injury with Charles. He continues to look on from the sideline. First and goal here. They spotted right at the 1. Castle goes fade to the corner of the end zone, and it's incomplete. And again, they go right at the rookie, Stephon Gilmore. It'll be second and goal.
You know, I don't have a problem with the call, but you got 2 timeouts. You got Peyton Hillis in the backfield. And it's first down and goal. I think you got to slam Peyton Hillis up in there on first down. And if he doesn't get in, you call a timeout. Then you figure out what you want to do on second down. You still got the run or pass threat on second down.
Hillis again, the lone setback. And he's short. He fumbles the football. A pylon in the end zone. It looked like Nick Barnett made the first contact for Buffalo, and the Bills take over possession as Hillis fumbles it up in the end zone.
Now, I'm not sure that Peyton Hillis' knees weren't down before this ball came out. It's going to be reviewed, but Peyton Hillis does have a history of fumbling the football. And he's got to know the only thing he can't do here is fumble this thing. Let's see if the question is, were his knees down before that ball came out? That's what I want to see. And I think Romeo Crennel is going to challenge this thing for sure.
Well, among the tweaks in the rule book this season, every turnover automatically reviewed.
If you can get it, if we can see the knee.
The previous play is under review.
Well, from that vantage point, Steve, it didn't look like his knees were down.
Well, you couldn't see his knees though, so it's hard to tell. Here you get the view of whether the knees are down or not. You can see right through here. Ball's coming out. Yeah, it looked like that ball. It's hard to tell to be sure, but it looked like he was still going to the ground with those knees when that ball popped out. Let's see it from here.
Well, the important thing is that the call on the field was a fumble.
Right.
And so they need the conclusive video evidence to overturn it, and I don't think we have it.
This is the best view right here, I think. Watch the knees right in here. Knees are still up. And here's the ball right here, obviously. So let's see what happened. The ball's coming out. just cannot quite see whether that knee's down or not. I don't think they're going to turn this over, Spiro. This would be an absolute dagger for the Kansas City Chiefs.
I continue to look at the replay here as this one is under review. And this would be, as Steve pointed out, just an absolute disaster for what has been a nightmare first half for Kansas City, down 21-0. They were just on the verge of punching one in. And again, keep in mind, as I pointed out a moment ago, Buffalo will have the football to start the second half and a chance to build on this 21-0 lead.
And there's Peyton Hillis. No one is praying harder than Peyton Hillis for something favorable to come out of this. He knows his history. That was the only real rap on him in Cleveland, was he had a penchant for fumbling the ball in key situations. And you make the call yourself. I just don't know if I see enough evidence that knee is down before that ball comes out.
Ruling on the field stands.
And for Kansas City, the nightmare continues. Matt Castle had led them down the field 77 yards. That tough run to give him a 1st and goal, and Hillis coughs it up. And Buffalo gets it back. Steve, you think back to that opening drive that they had last week of the second half. They drive down the field, and they miss that field goal on a Ryan Suckup kick, and they never quite recovered. And boy, you wonder what the psychological effect is in a situation that's even more dire than that one was against Atlanta last Sunday.
Yeah, that second half, it started out with a missed field goal, sack, fumble, interception. All 4 led to scores for Atlanta.
Now the story so far here, C.J. Spiller, 139 yards from scrimmage, 2 touchdowns. And at least through the first 30 minutes, Chan Gailey's Bills have been more than up to the task as they lead this game by 3 touchdowns. Halftime here in Buffalo with the score, the Bills 21 and the Chiefs nothing. We will be back with the Verizon halftime report after this message from your local station. Start of the third quarter as we welcome you back to Ralph Wilson Stadium. Buffalo 21, Kansas City nothing. As we take a look now at the DirecTV Ultimate Picture Cam. Some of the pretty pictures from the first half. Ryan Fitzpatrick, so far good bounce back performance, finding Scott Chandler in the end zone to push Buffalo's lead to 21-0. And that is where we stand as Fitzpatrick and company back onto the field. They will have the football to start the second half. Spiro Dedes and Steve Berline back with you. The NFL on CBS continues. C.J. Spiller, the story in the first half, Steve, 139 yards from scrimmage. But that Buffalo defense that took its lumps this week in the media, so far pitching a shutout.
They have stepped up big time today. The Buffalo Bills, nothing but bad news all week about the defense, how poorly they played in their debut performance. All the new high-priced free agents. Well, Marcel Darius, second-year player with a big sack there. And then the sack fumble. Carrington hits Castle. The ball comes out. And then the big one right at the end of the first half. Peyton Hillis going in for what looks like it's going to be a touchdown for Kansas City. The ball pops out. Nothing on the scoreboard for the Kansas City Chiefs. That's the Buffalo Bills stepping up on defense.
Buffalo's defense forcing 2 turnovers, 2 sacks already. And Kansas City still yet to score. Boy, that was a heartbreaking finish to the first half. Finally appeared that they were about to punch it in. And right now down 21-0, and to make things even more difficult, it'll be Buffalo receiving the football to start the second half.
Well, if I'm Romeo Crennel, what I tell my team is, hey, last week, guys, we had a great first half and a horrific second half. This week, unfortunately, we had a horrific first half. Let's go out and make this second half great. 1 drive at a time, shut down Buffalo at first, put the ball in, and make a ball game out of it.
Kansas City 7-9 a year ago, beaten last week on opening day by Atlanta, 40-24. Buffalo, meantime, 6-10. A disastrous finish to their season a year ago, dropping 8 of their final 9. And so far, so good today. We take a look at the numbers, Steve, from the first half.
Yeah, it's pretty one-sided. You look at what Buffalo has done, and You know, the passing yards, not that impressive, but you look at what C.J. Spiller, as you said, well over 100 yards today. Almost as if they're making it look too easy. I love the play calling that Chan Gailey has done. He's getting the right play called at the right time. They're getting the looks they want, and then the players are executing on the field.
C.J. Spiller taking over the reins for the injured Fred Jackson. Jackson suffering that sprained LCL in his lead last Sunday at the Jets. Johnson again the intended target from Fitzpatrick. Bills want a penalty. Stanford route acquired during the offseason from Oakland on the coverage. And it'll be 2nd and 10.
I'm just not sure that this is the right kind of route to be running for Stevie Johnson. You see how quickly he's peeking back inside? Stanford route knows if he's looking for the football, he's getting ready to make a break. So Stevie Johnson has got to sell that route up the field a little bit more to give Ryan Fitzpatrick a place to put that football.
Route coming inside in the offseason, basically to take the vacated spot left by the departed Brandon Carr. Carr signing that huge deal with the Dallas Cowboys during the offseason. That surprised a lot of people around the NFL. Pass completed towards the far side. That's T.J. Graham making his NFL debut today. And that's his first catch. Tackle made by Eric Berry after a pickup of 7. Now take a look at the first half now for Buffalo over the final 2 games. What a difference in this one today.
The key is that number right there, Spiro, too. I mean, Ryan Fitzpatrick had some ugly picks last week to get the Buffalo Bills into the hole. Today, protecting the football.
Well, both of these quarterbacks came in today under a lot of scrutiny, and rightfully so. And so far, Fitzpatrick has passed this test. Despite some awkward-looking throws, he hasn't, Steve, as you pointed out, played his best game. Certainly not even close to what we saw from him when he really had it going last season. But it's been C.J. Spiller bailing him out, and they'll have to punt.
Well, I think this ball might be tipped at some point, Spiro. Let's check it out and see. Right there, Dontari Poe got a finger on it, but I have not been impressed, and I've seen Ryan Fitzpatrick on days where he's thrown the ball very well. He did not throw it well last week, and he's not throwing the football great today. The key difference is he's not turning the ball over today.
Fitzpatrick just 8 of 15 today. As Brian Moorman on to punt. Javier Arenas just runs out of real estate on the sideline after a 43-yard punt. And nothing on the return. So Matt Castle and company will try it again. Down 3 touchdowns. Spiro Dedes, Steve Berliner, entire CBS crew with you from Buffalo. First possession for Kansas City here in the second half. They're down 21-0. Good news for the Chiefs. Jamal Charles back in the game after he was sidelined late in their final first half drive. Nothing official in terms of any injury to Charles, but there he is on first down. Mario Williams on the tackle after a pickup of 2.
Well, they need to get Jamal Charles going, and you don't need to worry about anything. Just worry about finding a way to get something positive. Look at the results so far. Nothing positive coming out of any of those drives. No points. Had a chance to end it the last drive of the first half, but they've got to get something on the board early in this quarter.
George Wilson, one of the Buffalo safeties that left the game in the first half, is back. This is 2nd and 8. Pass was deflected. Mario Williams applying the pressure. Bo, the intended recipient. And it'll be 3rd and long.
Well, that was the matchup we've been talking about earlier with Bo one-on-one against Stephon Gilmore. But Mario Williams, I think, is the one that deserves the credit on this play. There's a spot for that ball to be in. That could have been a holding call again on Stephon Gilmore. You saw him grabbing the left wrist of Dwayne Bowe. But Mario Williams was putting pressure on Matt Castle on that play as well.
Well, the rookie's learning some of those tricks. Got away with one there. This is 3rd and 8. Castle from the gun. From their own 33. Incomplete. Intended for Moyaki, and the Chiefs will punt.
And you wonder, you want to talk about Mario Williams. A lot of times people don't realize this, how much attention he attracts on a play. But he's going, if you look at 3 guys trying to block him, it's pretty hard for anybody, even if you're Superman paid what Mario Williams is paid to make plays with 3 guys trying to block you.
Leotis McKelvin signals fair catch. Excellent punt by Colquitt. They cannot down it inside the 5. And so it will be a touchback for Ryan Fitzpatrick. Sean Drone nearly got to it for Kansas City, but it bounds into the end zone.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you gotta get DirecTV. And by the all-new 2013 Ford Escape. It's what happens when you go further.
Some of the pretty scenic Niagara Falls. Short drive from where we are here. Nearly lost fumble on the play. Brad Smith has Chan Gailey against Steve getting a little cute with it.
Wow, that was, I don't know what happened there. Brad Smith could do this in his sleep. C.J. Spiller looked like he wasn't expecting the ball. And that's Brad Smith all the way. It looked like he was trying to pull that ball out of there and keep it. He just got it caught on C.J. Spiller's hip. That could have been a disaster for the Buffalo Bills.
Steve, are you surprised by that kind of play call up 21 points?
I am kind of surprised, especially backed up in your own end zone. You don't see many teams going to the Wildcat back inside their own 20-yard line. I question that for sure.
Buffalo loses 15 yards in the play. Just try to get some of it back here. This is Spiller. 92 yards on the ground in the first half.
But now in defense of Chan Gailey on that, I'm sure he's thinking, hey, I got my guy. It's just getting the shotgun snap and hand the ball up to C.J. Spiller. It's a safe play, trying to get the defense spread out, but I still think that there's a reason why you don't see many teams going to the Wildcat backed up in their own end of the field.
Hey, 4 down.
It's a Buffalo team that was crushed last week at the Jets. All kinds of questions surrounding their defense. And has so far pitched the shutout in this game behind Mario Williams. This is Spiller on the draw play. Trying to just get to the original line of scrimmage to the 20. Is short of that. Derek Johnson on the tackle, and Kansas City will get it back.
And that was the correct call right there, too. To run the ball up the middle, you had 3rd and 20. Only bad things can happen in putting the ball up in the air at that point, unless you want to throw a screen pass, something safe. Hand the ball off. You got a 21-point lead. Kick it to Kansas City, see if they can score.
Brian Moorman on the punt from inside his own 10. Wobbling kick taken by Arenas from his own 40. Inside Buffalo territory, breaks a couple of tackles inside the 40. And this will be the best field position that Matt Castle and company have had to start a drive today. 24 yards on the return after a punt of 43 yards.
You see Javier Arenas right there. The punt was not a great punt by Moorman. He had plenty of room, and the Kansas City Chiefs did a nice job setting up the wall on the right side of the field. And Arenas, he knows what to do with that football. Tremendous career as a punt returner at Alabama. He and Dexter McCluster kind of rotate the punt returning duties here in Kansas City.
Castle goes play action. Airs it out towards the end zone. It's incomplete. Receiver John Baldwin double covered on the play. Nowhere really for Castle to throw it. And it'll be 2nd and 10.
Well, you got Jonathan Baldwin, who's a second-year first-round draft choice last year out of University of Pittsburgh, and played very well by Stephon Gilmore. I'm still waiting to see Gilmore really get challenged consistently from Dwayne Bowe. You know, Gilmore is still down in the end zone back there. A little equipment timeout. He better get up.
Buffalo's trying to get Gilmore off the field. Play is snapped quickly by Castle. He finds Dexter McCluster inside the 30. It's about a yard or two short of the first down marker. Tackle made by Chris Kelsey.
And look at this, nobody out here on top of McCluster, and Matt Castle sees it. Just throw it out there.
You know, Steve, they had 12 men on the field.
They had
finally a marker was thrown back at the 20 behind the line of scrimmage. All kinds of confusion here. I don't think the officials noticed that Gilmore was on the field way back in the end zone.
It was confused. Buffalo was trying to cover for Gilmore, but Gilmore never got the message. It should have been a timeout.
Illegal substitution, defense, 12 players on the field. That penalty is declined. The result of the play is a first down.
You'd hate to burn a timeout in that situation, but you're going to see. Let's count these guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Definitely too many men on the field.
So 1st and 10 for the Chiefs. You have to think here, anything less than 7 really hurts them. Down 21-0. Early stages here, third quarter. Castle completes it inside the 20. That's John Baldwin. On a rough start to his rookie campaign a year ago, of course, having to deal with the lockout. Then had that training camp fight with Thomas Jones. Broke a bone in his hand. Had to miss the first 6 games, but boy, do they love him. Steve is a super athletic guy who makes a big catch there.
Yeah, he's a big guy, 6'4", 230. Good to see him making a play out there. You got to be careful afterwards. He got a little bit too excited throwing the ball back at Stephon Gilmore. The wrong referee might throw a flag on that.
Castle on 1st and 10. He finds the cluster over the middle. Tackle made at about the 12-yard line by the cornerback, Aaron Williams.
Accuracy out of the quarterback is so important. Look what there's Dexter McCluster. If he catches this ball on the move, he's running away from Aaron Williams as opposed to going down and trying to catch that ball off the ground. You get a 5-yard pickup as opposed to a possible touchdown with Dexter McCluster one-on-one with the safety. That's why accuracy is so important. It's not just about completing the ball. It's about putting the ball in the right place on the receiver.
McCluster had 6 catches last week, but was his 3rd today. This is 2nd and short. Charles unable to turn the corner. He's forced out of bounds by Gilmore. And it'll be a 3rd and about 3 coming up.
Real good job by the right side of the Buffalo Bills defense right there. You see the play getting strung out and good support coming up there on the outside from Justin Rogers, and then Gilmore there to make the play and kick him out of bounds.
Sean Drone will come in for Charles. It'll be 3rd and 4 officially from the Bills' 12. Castle set. Kyle Williams gets there for Buffalo.
That was a coverage sack in every sense of what a coverage sack is. Matt Castle had great protection, plenty of time. You can look up the field. There was nobody open, nowhere with Matt Castle to go with the football. He knows it. They're in field goal range. Got to get something on the board. Touchdown would have been obviously much better than a field goal, but look at the coverage. Everybody's buttoned up, and a good tackle by Kyle Williams.
Ryan Succop had that critical missed field goal early 3rd quarter last week. This one from 33 is perfect. Now it takes Kansas City about 2.5 quarters. They finally get on the board as they cut the Buffalo lead at 21-3. Here in Buffalo, the Bills 21, the Chiefs 3. Matt Castle certainly wanted 6 there, but they'll take 3. Their first points of the afternoon. They cover 23 yards, short field after the change of possession. Ryan Succop, 33-yard field goal, but it's still, Steve, as you pointed out, basically a 3-score game. With 7:32 left here in the 3rd quarter.
Yeah, just getting that goose egg off the board is good for the confidence, but it's still a 3-possession game any way you slice it. So moral victory maybe, if there is such a thing.
Football blown off the tee. Wind starts to pick up here inside the stadium. Now this is a Chiefs team, Steve, that comes in expecting to be much improved. You talk about some of the fine-tuning that Scott Pioli, their GM, was able to do to this roster. Last week to get blown out at home for a second straight year on opening day. Today, a game that from their perspective appeared very winnable. It's just not good enough so far. Down 21-3 as we play middle stages of this third quarter. Leotis McKelvin signals for the fair catch. It'll be Ryan Fitzpatrick and his Buffalo offense onto the field when we come back.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by KFC. Delivered fresh, prepared fresh with world-famous secret recipes. Come in today and taste why fresh is better.
(21-3) Buffalo, your score. 7:32 to play in this third quarter. We're at Ralph Wilson Stadium in Western New York. Season home opener for Buffalo. C.J. Spiller has been their star. He lines up in the backfield as the Bills offense takes over again from their own 20. Spiller assuming the responsibility as a marker is thrown back at the line of scrimmage. Belcher on the tackle.
Holy, offense number 85. 10-yard penalty from the previous block. First down.
Lee Smith, man penalized.
Yeah, you're going to see right there Lee Smith just grabbing a little bit too much of Justin Houston, giving C.J. Spiller that edge. And that's something that a tight end or a tackle, when you got a guy with the speed of C.J. Spiller, you got to understand that you don't need to get as much of that defensive end or that defensive player as a guy with normal speed for C.J. Just do the best you can, let him try to get to the edge.
Fitzpatrick rolling out, finds Chandler up the sideline inside Kansas City territory barely. After a huge pass play from Fitzpatrick, they pick up 43 yards.
That's Fitzpatrick's best throw of the day by far. Rolling to his right on the move. You got Chandler coming across the field all the way across, and he's a big target. Fitzpatrick sees it, lays it in there right on the money, just over the outstretched hands of Jovan Belcher, and it's a big play for Buffalo coming out of their own end zone.
Steve, that was very similar to the play very early in the game that Fitzpatrick missed. Had Chandler wide open.
Exactly.
And that time he hits it perfectly. There's another draw play to Spiller. Kansas City sniffs it out. Justin Houston leads the brigade. Well, we talked about the importance of this game for both of these teams, already 0-1. Strength of schedule, Steve, early in the season, just brutal for both of these teams, and for Kansas City, really it continues the entire way.
Yeah, for Kansas City it does. Buffalo would actually kind of, after you get through the middle part of their schedule, they'll finish up with 6 or 7 games that I think they consider very winnable. But Kansas City, it stays brutal for most of the year. Both teams have got to have this game.
2nd and 12. Fitzpatrick throws incomplete. Intended for Jones. Jones, the third-year man out of Youngstown State, undrafted. A lot of talk about Jones sliding into that slot position in the absence of David Nelson. He's had a quiet game so far.
Well, Ryan Fitzpatrick told us it was going to come down to Scott Chandler, Donald Jones. Chandler stepped up big time today.
This is 3rd and 12. Stevie Johnson with the first down. Inside the 20. 10-5 touchdown. .49 yards, Fitzpatrick to Johnson, and it's 27-3.
Well, this is a total busted coverage. Neither one of the defenders, Abram Elam or Brandon Flowers, running with Stevie Johnson. I mean, he's the best receiver on this team, They both go running outside and leave Stevie Johnson the easy catch underneath. Didn't even have to make a move till he was 30 yards up the field.
Point after is good. And Buffalo dominating Kansas City 28-3. Stevie Johnson waltzing right through the Chiefs defense here in Buffalo. Stay with us. Buffalo 4 plays, 80 yards in just under 2 minutes. Stevie Johnson a 49-yard touchdown reception from Ryan Fitzpatrick. And Kansas City just cannot stop the bleeding. Down 28-3. Party continues here amongst these fans. This is Javier Arenas, close to the 30. Steve, we take another look at the touchdown. Keep in mind, this was a 3rd and 12 play for Buffalo.
I want you to watch Donald Jones right here. He's going to occupy both Abram Elam and Brandon Flowers. But then watch Derek Johnson here. He goes shooting this way for no reason at all. Wait till you see the room that Stevie Johnson has underneath. Right there, look at it. He gets the ball. There is nothing in the middle of the field. What is he doing over here? I don't know. What are the other 2 guys doing up top? That's a complete busted coverage. In a 3rd and 12 situation, that's unacceptable.
Romeo Crennel scheming on that Chiefs sideline. McCluster is crushed at the 39. Now, they talked about how tough he is. Guy at his size taking on those shots.
That's Jarris Byrd on the hit. And Dexter McCluster is one tough dude. I'll tell you, that was a big hit on a little man.
Maybe the 12 hardest earned yards in McCluster's career. This is 1st and 10. Castle again holding late, incomplete. Fans want a penalty. Castle certainly still in the pocket on that throw.
Rightfully so. The question is, Peyton Hillis was out in the flat. That ball was not anywhere near Peyton Hillis, went way over the top of his head. It's a judgment call by the referee.
Intentional grounding. Offense. A yard penalty. First down.
Well, you're going to see Peyton Hillis coming out of the backfield. Watch right here. He's coming out of the backfield. He's going to be in the flat. He's somewhat in the area, but Matt Castle's not trying to complete this ball. He's throwing it away. That's the right call. I mean, he's in the pocket, standing there trying to avoid a sack. That's what the rule's in for.
It's only the 3rd penalty committed by the Chiefs in this game. It's now 2nd and 18. Castle again has all day to throw. Late marker thrown behind the line of scrimmage, incomplete, trying to find Baldwin.
And this is going against Kansas City again as well.
Holding. Offense number 74. That penalty is declined. 3rd down.
Eric Winston penalized for the hold. And what is going through Romeo Crennel's mind as we take a look at some of our fantasy leaders week 2. Trent Richardson, who we will see in Cleveland next week. Big day on the ground. Brent Selleck 120 yards receiving for Philadelphia. And meantime here for the Chiefs, 3rd and 18. Castle from the gun at their own 33. Hillis breaks the first tackle out past the 40, but well short of the first down marker. Barnett on the tackle, but the Chiefs will punt.
You keep looking for something to get excited about here with the Chiefs at this point. It just seems like Buffalo today has come out ready to play. Their game plan, both sides of the ball, they've almost been getting exactly the looks and the reads that they were planning on. It's been working in their favor all day.
Never ceases to amaze the fluctuation in the NFL week to week. As Leotis McKelvin breaking tackles, the punter is back and no one else. It's a foot race, McKelvin to the 10, to the 5, and he's in. Leotis McKelvin goes 88 yards, and it's 34-3.
Well, that's the second week in a row that the Kansas City Chiefs have given up a special teams touchdown. Romeo Crennel made that comment last night that you give up touchdowns and special teams and you're not playing well on defense, and it's just not a good recipe for you. It's just getting worse here for Kansas City.
Point after is perfect as Ryan Lindell boots it through to make it 35-3. Play materializing so quickly.
You got to be fearless to take a middle punt return. Leotis McKelvin obviously is. That play was designed to go right up the gut. Great execution, great blocking, and a fearless returner right up the middle. You got yourself a good play and 7 more points.
Second longest punt return for a score in Bills history. Longest set by Keith Mooney back in October of 1977, a 91-yard return. But what a difference a week makes for the Buffalo Bills. Steve, it's still early in this game. We're still in the third quarter, but Kansas City just looks psychologically crushed on that sideline.
They really do. You know, body language speaks a lot. There's just a bunch of people walking around the sideline like they're in shock. And this is where you find out. You know, as you said, there's a lot of football left. Now, whether it's realistically winnable for the Chiefs, that's very debatable. I know which way I'd vote, but the bottom line is if you've got respect and if you've got any kind of pride, you play hard to the final whistle.
Whistle blown before the kick from John Potter. Penalty on the field.
Timeout. Buffalo. First charge timeout of the half. This will be a 30-second timeout.
So Buffalo with some confusion, burning a timeout. Meantime, we head to New York, get an update around the league on this busy week 2.
All right, Dan, take it away.
And after New England blocked punt, Kevin Cobb, 2-yard touchdown pass to Andre Roberts. Arizona's up 13-9.
Patriots cannot take them lightly. They are right now. Let's take it back to Spiro and Steve.
JB, Dan, thanks. Here in Buffalo, Spiro Dedes, Steve Berline, our entire CBS crew with you. Came in expecting a tough, hard-fought game. Two teams desperate for a win. Both expected to be much improved, Steve, after very disappointing finishes a year ago. And so far, it has been all Buffalo, to say the least.
I think everybody expected this to be a battle because of what was at stake for both teams with the way they lost their first games, that they would both come out with their best effort. It's been a one-way street so far. And this is what we're going to find out about Kansas City, though. These guys have got to step up and show they want to play football for Romeo Crennel.
Sean Drone watched the Potter kick bounce through the back of the end zone as Kansas City will have it from their own 20. The facts Facts of Life star, the baseball MVP, and 3 wounded castaways back for a second chance. Survivor season premiere Wednesday, only CBS. Steve, you hear a lot about how much players love playing for Romeo Crennel. He's a player's coach, kind of laid back, calm, steady hand. Something tells me he's going to get after him if this result holds true. That Buffalo defense fired up as we get an update in New Orleans, Carolina, as we head to New York.
All Carolina.
Yeah, Carolina's running the ball up and down the field on the Saints. D'Angelo Williams, 3-yard touchdown. Carolina's up 28-13.
185 rushing yards for the Panthers. Back to Spiro and Steve.
Spiro, thanks, JB. Spiro, what do you think the Saints are missing most right now?
I think a coach.
Sean Payton. That's exactly right.
Castle on 2nd and 7. He just takes a knee. That basically summarizes the kind of day it's been for the Chiefs. Kelvin Shepherd right through the teeth of that offensive line.
Yeah, right up the gut. No one even accounts for him. That's looks like Ryan Lilja, the 9-year vet, just completely missed his assignment. He was looking back trying to pick up Shepherd. Didn't happen.
Well, I think I'd take a knee too if that was coming towards me.
I mean, there's the point of minimal diminishing returns, I guess.
3rd and 17. Some trickery. Payne Hillis gets close to the 30s, right at the first down marker. Kansas City may have gotten it here.
I think he did get it. That was what I would call a very cute play.
Cute play that turns out to be effective. They pick up 18. They needed 17.
This is
the Chiefs with a first down.
This is off a sprint draw action where they're trying to sell the sprint to the right side. Usually this play cuts back to the left, but instead Peyton Hillis keeps it out to the right, and there's nobody out in front of him. And he fights for those extra yards. This time protects the football.
Sean Drone, the backup tailback, as Castle airs it outside line. Again, Baldwin against the rookie Gilmore. After maybe a shaky moment or two, Steve, early for Gilmore, he's more than held his own against Matt Castle.
I've been impressed. You know, we spoke with him, and he seems to have the right mentality. On Friday when we talked to him at the Bills complex, he admitted that he got beat for a touchdown last week. He didn't make any excuses. He knows he's got a lot to learn. He knows he's going to be a target out there, but he's played aggressive, physical, and he's been right there all day long. I've been impressed.
Gilmore, the collegiate star under Steve Spurrier of South Carolina, has been the starting quarterback since day 1 of minicamp as Sean Drone leaps over a tackler inside Bills territory, brought down inside the 45 by the safety George Wilson after he picks up 25.
Good strong run right there. Little seam finally. You haven't seen many seams in this Buffalo defense today, but right there Drone was more than willing to hit that thing hard and take it up in there, pick up a nice gain for Kansas City.
Drone, a free agent pickup in 2011, picks up to 25 yards there. Someone that Scott Pioli and company very high on. Just 24 years of age, he stays in the field. Here on 1st and 10. Castle feels the rush, it's caught. Bo shakes a tackle. Lunges to the 30. And he has another Chiefs first down as Castle finds him for 14.
Well, this is not a situation where Buffalo's gotten soft on defense. If anything, what I've noticed in this last couple drives, they're getting more aggressive. They're coming with more blitzes. They're playing tighter coverage, thinking they could really put this game away. But finally, Kansas City's starting to execute a little bit on this drive, making some plays. Matt Castle made a good, strong throw right there, and Bo getting physical with the run.
Castle sacked again. Kyle Williams gets there for the second time today.
When was the last time Kyle Williams had 2 sacks in a ball game? I don't think there was a last time for that. I think this is probably the first time.
Williams, the 7th-year star from LSU, pushes Kansas City back. That's the end of the third quarter in Buffalo. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Kansas City just trying to show a pulse here, down 35-3. As we start the fourth quarter, it has been a nightmare for the Chiefs right from the start. As we welcome you back to Ralph Wilson Stadium alongside Steve Berline, our entire CBS crew, I'm Spiro Ditas. Matt Castle somehow eluded it for a moment, able to tuck it away. It was finally brought down from the back by Spencer Johnson. He's able, Steve, somehow to pick up 4.
Yeah, that was a very, very good individual effort by Matt Castle. He was under pressure, showed a little bit of athleticism, spinning out of there and making a positive play out of it. Go ahead.
Steve, people are going to talk about the Chiefs' defense. This offensive line, they've allowed 5 sacks today of their quarterback. He was sacked 3 times last week. That's 8 sacks in 7 quarters.
And this is 4-down territory, I believe. They don't have to get all of it right here.
3rd and 14. Castle was backing up as he flutters it down the field. Not even close. It's incomplete.
Now Romeo Crennel's got a decision to make. 4th and 14.
And he's not even going to take a shot.
I think I don't think there's any doubt if they would have picked up 5, 6, 7 yards where you got it inside of 4th and 10, they would have gone for 4th and 14. A lot of people, I'm sure, at this point would say, why not? What do you got to lose?
Romeo perhaps with little faith in his offense as they're able to spot that one down inside the 5. Sean Drone catches the football, one of the rare breaks for the Chiefs in this game. Buffalo 35, Kansas City 3. As we play here early fourth quarter, just under a minute gone by. As Romeo Crennel, in what appeared to be 4-down territory, elects to punt. Gets his offense off the field. Matt Castle with a lot going through his mind.
Not much good.
Ryan Fitzpatrick keeps it on the ground on 1st down. That's Tashard Choice for minimal gain. Not too late to play NFL.com fantasy football. Sign up today for the official fantasy game of the NFL at NFL.com/fantasy.
You know, Eric Berry made a comment to us, the safety for the Kansas City Chiefs. It was kind of interesting. He said, you know, last week against Atlanta, we were all in the same book. We just were on different pages.
That's a cliche I haven't heard before.
No, I haven't either. It looks the same today, you know, with some of the busts that have happened.
Hard hit at the line of scrimmage. Goes to Tashard Choice again. An NFL collision with Tamba Hali, picks up 6. Some of the numbers from this game. Ryan Fitzpatrick, not his best game, but it has been efficient. No turnovers. C.J. Spiller, the story in the first half. 139 yards from scrimmage over the first 2 quarters. Jamal Charles, meantime, Steve, little to no impact on this game. But then again, you could say the same thing for basically that entire Chiefs team.
No doubt about it.
Buffalo moves the chains as Choice is out past the 15 on a pickup of 6. Stay tuned for the Farmers Insurance update, time permitting. Buffalo will head to Cleveland next Sunday. We will be with you for that game. And all those questions, Steve, about this Bills team, are they good enough? What happened against the Jets? Some of those questions will start to subside. as they put a hurting on the Chiefs. Nine yards for Choice. Tackle made by Derek Johnson.
I like what Chan Gailey's doing here offensively. You know, as C.J. Spiller comes back out on the field right now, I'm just going to make the point that he's not overworking C.J. Spiller. He's got this game under control. The worst thing he could do is have something negative happen injury-wise, get him bumped up a little bit. C.J. Spiller, you got the game in hand, good position. Don't overwork your workhorse.
Second and short. Spiller back onto the field, and he is into the secondary. Finally brought down. Abram Elam on the tackle. And now some pushing after the whistle. Spiller picks up 20. Spiller now 15 carries, 123 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, just as I say, give him a break. He picks up 20 more. Well, this is an emotional game, obviously. When you're down, a lot of crazy things happen. This is a kind of a violent little takedown at the end finish. And, I don't think a few of the Buffalo Bills offensive linemen appreciated that very much. That was Abram Elam just kind of slamming.
Buffalo.
Buffalo will take a timeout. 10:21 to play here in this fourth quarter. It is all Bills on CBS.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Geico, where 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. E-Trade works beautifully. And by the new 90-inch Aquos LED TV, only from Sharp.
Look at the Naval Park here. Not far from where we are at Ralph Wilson Stadium. Wildcat again look for the Bills to Shard Choice this time. Forced out of bounds right at midfield, as for the second straight year the Bills are just taking it right to the Kansas City Chiefs. This was opening day last season at Arrowhead. 41-7 victory for the Bills. Stevie Johnson, a 27-yard touchdown catch. Scott Chandler added 2 touchdowns on the day. And C.J. Spiller with a 9-yard burst in the fourth. 41-7. All 3 of those guys have scored in this game. In the meantime, for Kansas City, you wonder where this team goes from here. 2nd and 10. Minimal gain on that play. Steve, you get blown out at home if you're the Chiefs. And again, keep in mind, this is a team that is not supposed to be in the basement anymore in the AFC West. Much improved. And then after that, you come here and get walloped by a Buffalo team that just didn't look good last week.
Not at all. And Buffalo has responded to the challenge of having to step up and show they're a real football team. Kansas City, not nearly the same result today.
Just not good enough. And Romeo Crennel will certainly relay that to his players after this one is over. This is 3rd and 5. Incomplete. Intended for Choice. So 4th down, Buffalo will punt. We head to New York and get an update from JB.
Cam getting it done with his legs.
And that's what makes this guy so special. Down inside the 10-yard line, he gets it in. 5-yard touchdown. 6-play, 80-yard drive. 35-20 Carolina.
Career high 70 rushing yards for Newton. Back to Spiro and Steve.
So the Saints in danger of now falling to 0-2. Eventful week 2 around the NFL. That one bounds into the end zone. Touchback for the Chiefs. With 8:39 left to play in this fourth quarter. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Chiefs down 35-3, just trying to show anything here. Sean Drone on 1st down. Nice little run there to set up a 2nd and short. Tonight on 60 Minutes, super agent Drew Rosenhaus represents the NFL's biggest stars. His story, plus British singer Adele on 60 Minutes tonight, only CBS. 2nd and 9, they mark it at the 21. This is drawn up to the 30, right at the first down marker. Steve, what do you say to your team if you're Romeo Crennel?
Well, I don't know what you say exactly, but I remember I had a high school football coach my freshman year that when we didn't play well, the pads never came off after the game. We got home and we had another practice. He beat the you-know-what out of us. I think that you can't quite do that in the NFL, but that's what needs to happen. This team needs to get a wake-up call that this is not going to happen ever again.
Castle on first down, able to find Bowe. Once again at the first down marker. It has to be a satisfying day, meantime, for Buffalo's defensive coordinator, Dave Wannstedt. There he is up here in the press box. After his defense gave up nearly 50 points at the Jets last week.
He's a guy I have tremendous respect for. When I played for the Cowboys, he was our defensive coordinator during those Super Bowl years in the early to mid-'90s. Head coach at Chicago, head coach at Miami. I have a lot of respect for that man. He's a great defensive player, great person.
Well, replaced a couple of legends, both of those head coaching stops. Mike Ditka in Chicago, Jimmy Johnson in Miami. Nice little comebacker by Castle. Finds the 2nd-year man Baldwin on the play. Inside Buffalo territory, a pickup of 25.
And, you know, in talking to Dave Wannstedt, he told us that last week was just a bad day. We're going to see how these guys respond, and they have responded to his challenge.
Castle goes far side again, trying to target Bowe. He catches it, and he's in. And that time, just the sheer physical force of Dwayne Bowe, the difference, as he just went over the top of Aaron Williams.
And as fate would have it, right as we start talking about how well Buffalo's playing on defense, Kansas City comes alive with 2 big plays. Give credit to those guys out there, Chief, to get the big playmaker, leader on your team, Dwayne Bowe, going up and bringing in a nice pass from Matt Castle.
33-yard hookup. Bowe nearly at 100 yards receiving. First touchdown reception of the season. Ryan Succop on for the point after. And it's 35-10. Dwayne Bowe, the 60-year veteran, is trying to make it respectable at this point, down 25 points.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by the Subway Sub Prize Party. Many of your faves are $5 footlongs. And by NFL Mobile from Verizon, built to bring you the game.
Kansas City finally able to punch one in. 5 plays, 80 yards, just over 2 minutes. Dwayne Bowe with a leaping 33-yard touchdown reception to make it 35-10.
Buffalo's expecting onside kick here. Got everybody up.
Ryan Succop kind of pooch kick it down the center of the field. Fielded by Brad Smith. And he's run out of bounds inside the 20. Well, C.J. Spiller stole the show early today. Fresh off his 169-yard performance at the Jets in the loss last weekend. And he picked up right where he left off.
A good, strong day. Came out hot. They found ways to get the football to him in the screen game, underneath against man-to-man coverage. Found creative ways in the red zone to get the ball to him out of the shotgun. Very good job of game planning by Chan Gailey, trying to find a way to get the ball to his big playmakers, many creative ways as he can.
170 yards of total offense from Spiller. Third career 100-yard rush game for him. Tyler Thigpen has come on for Ryan Fitzpatrick. And keep it on the ground here. Johnny White signed this week with some of the injuries that Buffalo has undertaken offensively. White, the second-year man from North Carolina, was among the final cuts during training camp. As you take a look at Tyler Thigpen. Thigpen now in his 6th NFL season. Spent 3 years with Kansas City. One of those years, Steve, under Chan Gailey, who was the offensive coordinator.
Exactly right. I was going to say, going against his former team here. Had a chance to be the starter there for the better part of a year.
That was a tumultuous year for Gailey. If you recall, he was the offensive coordinator, Steve, for all of 3 preseason games. Todd Haley relieving him of his play calling duties after 3 exhibition games. Not a year that Chan will recall fondly.
No, but like everything else, Chan Gailey, he'll just give a little smile, and,
yes. He's a very decent man.
He's a very decent man, but you know, if you ever had a chance to get around a table, a couple of cold ones, he might have a few stories to tell.
Well, he'll certainly take this one. 35-10. Clock continues to run, just under 5 minutes remaining. This is White. Close to the 30. Again, for Kansas City's point of view, Steve, you got that brutal schedule that continues for them. Very few what you'd call winnable games, and this was a sub-500 team a year ago, so tough to come up with winnable games for a team in that kind of predicament. But again, there's some people that think that this team has the most talented roster in the AFC West. That, of course, is debatable. But there's no doubt this was supposed to be a much improved team this season.
Well, in Atlanta, sure, at home, tough game to start the season. Going to Buffalo coming off a tough loss. Tough, but you didn't show up for either one of those games. That's the problem. You showed up and played decent for a half at home against Atlanta. Second half, nothing happened, and it's been a disappearing act today.
Well, here's what lies ahead for the Chiefs. You never want to see the Saints, but boy, you don't want to see them at 0-2 at the Superdome. That's what they'll have to contend with next weekend, assuming that Carolina holds on for that win over the Saints today. And then look what's after that. San Diego, Baltimore, at Tampa, before they take on Oakland, and then the Chargers in San Diego.
Yeah, that's a tough little stretch there. Romeo Crennel knows that. To be sitting at 0-2 2 weeks into this thing, that's not what anybody had in mind. I can guarantee you that.
And Romeo Crennel's seen a lot of football. The 31-year coaching career, second head coaching position. And it's a guy in Cleveland from 05 to 08.
Hillis with the carry.
As Payne Hillis takes it for 17 and a Chiefs first down.
And you've got a lot of subs in there on defense for Buffalo right now, as you'd expect, kind of keep the starters fresh.
This is 1st and 10 from the KC 34. Now again, the story today, in addition to C.J. Spiller, Steve, that Buffalo defense, and once again have to mention Marcell Dareus, who 6 days ago got the tragic news that his 19-year-old brother gunned down and murdered just outside Birmingham, Alabama. He left the team Monday, returned Thursday, missed just 1 day of practice. Had a sack in the first half, giving this Bills team a huge emotional lift. And you just wonder how he was able to summon the strength to put that helmet on today.
You know, I read a quote from him which really said a lot, and I don't know Marcell that well, spoken with him a few times, but I've got a lot of respect for how he's handled this situation. He said he lost one brother, but he wanted to be with his 50 other brothers out here on the Buffalo Bills. They're like a family. He knows that they're going to make him feel better. It's gonna hit him after this game when he's got to go home and deal with his real family. I really feel for the Darius family.
Well, Marcel will leave the team after the game, head back to Alabama. And Champ Bailey has told him to take as much time as he needs. As Kansas City and drone pick up 24 yards, tackle made by Chris White. Clock continues to run, 2:24 and counting. Castle, little pump fake. Trying to find Baldwin on the sideline. Coverage applied by Gilmore.
A lot of contact down the field, but you know, I do believe, just to go on the record here and make this go, I do believe that the Kansas City Chiefs have kept fighting hard in this ball game, and you look what they're doing right now. They know this game is over. They're still trying to get points on the board. So give Matt Castle and his teammates credit for hanging in there and trying to finish this game right at least.
Well, it's been a wild couple of years for this Chiefs franchise. Back in 2010, that surprise run into the AFC playoffs, going 10-6. Everyone thought that they were on the uptick, Steve, that they were a team on the rise. And then last year, the disasters that they had to navigate through, the coaching change, Todd Haley fired, all the injuries. And now 0-2 to start the season as they get blown out for a second straight week. Buffalo putting the finishing touches on a 35-10 victory. As we hit the final 2 minutes, coming up next, back end of our CBS doubleheader, Jets, Pittsburgh, and Tennessee going to San Diego. And some breaking news out of that Chargers locker room. Antonio Gates will play due to a rib injury. Of course, no Ryan Matthews. But some huge games around the NFL today, week number 2.
Yeah, I'm going to make a prediction, Spiro. Dante Rosario, backup tight end for San Diego. I know how Norv Turner likes to use the tight end. I know Phillip Rivers loves working the ball to the tight end. Dante Rosario, I predict, will have a pretty big day. Backup tight end in Carolina, going to get a chance to step up today.
Chargers will try to build off their opening night win in Oakland. Nice catch by John Baldwin. Baldwin played under Bills defensive coordinator Dave Wannstedt at Pitt. As we have an injured Buffalo defender on the play, Baldwin picks up 24 yards. Looked like he hit his head there. Did Stephon Gilmore kind of a whiplash here at the end of the play.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And for the folks watching that grass, it is grass, but I guarantee you, that is not something you want to be slamming your head up against. Stephon Gilmore, he's got his head ringing right now.
Gilmore taken with the 10th overall selection in the NFL draft. Has had a good day. Had that early holding penalty back in the first quarter, but boy, did he respond.
Yeah, he's played very well. I've been impressed. You know, he's not afraid to get up there and mix it up, get physical. He's held his own against everybody the Kansas City Chiefs have put out there, whether it be Dwayne Bowe, whether it was, you know, Baldwin, who's made a couple of plays, but he's been contested and physical every single time they've gone his way.
Meantime, Matt Castle and company trying to punch one in here late. Anything to try to give the Chiefs some momentum going into week 3.
If you think about what the backbreaker was for the Chiefs, I think it was the Peyton Hillis fumble right before the end of the first half. If they score a touchdown there, they at least believe they're in the ballgame.
Great point. Never able to recover as they go end zone and again find Dwayne Bowe for 6. So the second touchdown reception of the quarter for Bowe, and that makes it 35-16. The final score will not quite indicate just how one-sided this game was for much of the day. Kansas City will take it. Bowe that time beating the cornerback Aaron Williams. Castle goes over 300 yards passing with that hookup. But he will not be very pleased at all with this one, as Kansas City will fall to 0-2. Well, the story again today for Buffalo. They scored early, they scored often. C.J. Spiller taking over the running back load from the injured Fred Jackson, and boy, he did not disappoint.
And the touchdown to Scott Chandler up the middle of the field, and then Stevie Johnson on the busted coverage, and then the Otis McKelvin on the punt return touchdown. They scored from every different angle today, with the exception of defense. But through the air, on the ground, and the punt return, as we see Stephon Gilmore going off the field.
I'm so precautious with those head injuries in the NFL. Again, that becoming a factor today. Note Darrelle Revis for the Jets, out with a concussion in that game at Pittsburgh later today. We'll see the leading statistical players for the Bills.
An efficient day for Ryan Fitzpatrick. Not overly impressive, but I think he managed the game very well. I think his accuracy was a little questionable at times, but he protected the football. That was a big thing. Last week, those interceptions just killed the Buffalo Bills against the Jets. Today, I think he would admit he wasn't throwing it great, but he got the job done.
Speaking of that Jets-Steelers game, we get late word out of Pittsburgh that Troy Polamalu will not play. Polamalu dealing with injury this week as well, so a couple of key defenders out for the Steelers, as James Harrison will sit as well. But boy, so many interesting matchups today in week 2. Told you about the Saints. Danger of falling to 0-2. Indianapolis trying to get Andrew Luck his first win against the Vikings at home today. Baltimore, Philadelphia entrenched in a tight one. We'll take you to that game after our game ends here, as Buffalo will go to 1-1 and Kansas City dropping to 0-2.
And let's not assume the Kansas City Chiefs are dead. Everything we've been talking about has been negative. It was dismal performance, both performances this year so far. But a lot of football left to be played. And this is a team that, there's a lot of great stories. Who would have thought the Giants would have won the Super Bowl last year? So not calling the Kansas City Chiefs a Super Bowl team. What I'm saying is that they can find their confidence, find their stride, get a couple of upsets, and all of a sudden they've got a lot to be excited about. So it's going to be a challenge for Romeo Crennel and his staff, but we're going to see what they're made of.
Oh, this is the NFL. Such a fluctuation week to week. A team could look so bad one week and incredibly efficient just 6 days later. And it certainly applies to the Buffalo Bills. A huge, dominant performance today. As we take a look now at what lies ahead for Chan Gailey and the Bills.
We'll be doing that game in Cleveland next week, and then a stretch New England, San Francisco back-to-back. And then you got Arizona, Tennessee, and then of course Houston playing as well as anybody right now. Arizona, looking very strong today, leading New England by 2 with 2 minutes left in that ball game. And those are the kind of stories, though, Spiro, that do get you excited. Who would have thought the Arizona Cardinals could play with the New England Patriots? So there are days. This is the NFL. Anybody can beat anybody. It depends on the game plan. It depends on the injuries. It depends on who shows up that day. And all it takes a lot of times is 1 or 2 games to get that confidence rolling, to get that train moving again. That's what the Chiefs have to hope for.
Again, that game in New England today. It's incredible. And what a boost that would be for this Buffalo team. Trying to keep pace in the AFC East. See if the Chiefs elect to take their final timeout. It looks like they will. Now, Steve, what's the thought process here if you're Romeo Crennel?
You know, I don't really know. I don't really know, other than I think maybe to send a message to his team that we don't quit, period. We're not conceding anything. We're going to play to the final whistle. And you know what? There are a few people in the NFL I respect more than Romeo Crennel. You talk to anybody that knows the man, and you know, not sitting here trying to make him feel good, just sitting here honestly saying the guy knows how to treat people right. He knows how to prepare himself. We're going to see if he knows how to get his team ready to play down the road here, but I think he is trying to send a message. We are not going to give up. This team will not be identified with ever giving up.
So 50 seconds to play. This will be a 4th and 9 as Brian Moorman comes on to punt. This is Steve Weston bobbling the punt from the 30. A nifty little return inside Buffalo territory, and brought down at the 47. Special thanks to our entire CBS crew today. Ken Mack, our producer, Jim Cornell directing. Talent Stats, Paul Evans, Rich Gaynor, our spotter. As Buffalo trying to put the finishing touches on an 18-point win. Stevie Johnson, long touchdown reception, and really put this game on ice.
We are going to see the Hail Mary here, I think, too, Spiro.
Unless they've got an 18-point play here, it won't matter. Incomplete. You look at Castle's numbers, Steve, they look more than respectable. 22 39, 301 yards. Did not throw a pick, but he did lose that fumble. Second straight week that's happened.
Kind of the same thing as last week, too, other than the first half last week, Matt Castle was 10 of 12, 123 yards, a couple of touchdowns.
This is Drone. And Steve, you know, they've moved the football, but they've just made mistakes at very inopportune times. And, of course, the Peyton Hillis fumble, as you pointed out, just killed them.
And in the second half of last week, Matt Castle had the 2 big interceptions and a sack fumble. So the numbers are kind of skewed last week, too. They look, you know, fairly impressive on paper in the stat sheet. But I think even he would tell you he did not play that well in the second half. Today, not putting this on Matt Castle at all, because he's been getting hit under pressure all day. Just saying that the numbers can be deceptive at times.
Castle sacked 3 times by Atlanta last week, 5 times today. And one thing about the AFC West that we've seen in recent years, it's usually wide open, and even teams hovering around 500 have had a chance. So despite the fact that they'll fall to 0-2, Chiefs still very much alive so early in the NFL season.
Well, and I will say this before we see the last play. If you watch the first half of that game last week against Atlanta, this Kansas City team showed they could play with anybody. I think Atlanta's a pretty darn good football team. They traded punch for punch that first half. Matt Castle looked as sharp as I've seen him look at any point in his career in that first half. So we know the team's got it in them. We'll just see if they can find it again before it's too late.
This is Castle on 3rd down, airs it out to the end zone. It's caught, intercepted, and a touchback, and a fitting end to this one here in Buffalo. Your final score, the Bills 35, the Chiefs 17. Coming up next, game 2 of our CBS doubleheader, Jets, Steelers, or the Titans and the Chargers. Now for Steve Berline, this is Spiro Vita.